When you think about racing at Charlestown in recent years, you can't think too long before you start thinking about trainer Jeff Runco and owner David Raim. You need a good filly. How's the Sky is falling? She's a multiple stakes winner, a 13-time winner overall. How about a horse that goes short, a 4.5 furlong dash horse? Duncan Idaho is about as good as we've seen in a while. How about a horse that goes long, maybe even wants to go 3 turns? How about 2-time Sam Huff West Virginia Breeders' Classic winner and graded stakes place Muad'dib? He's a millionaire. That combination, Jeff Runco, the trainer, David Raim, the owner, has been a potent one at Charlestown in recent years. And owner David Raim going to join us in a moment here on Midlantic Racing Today, Charlestown Races Today. It's all powered by the Racing Biz, the racingbiz.com, and presented by our friends at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. My name's Frank Vespi, and we're going to be talking with David Raim in a moment. A little bit down the road a piece, going to bring in Paul Espinosa. He's the track announcer at Charlestown Races. We're going to cover the news from last week. We had a stake last week and some other stuff to talk about, and then preview the week ahead. But I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to break a little news on today's podcast as well when we talk with David Raim, which we're going to do right now. Ted Black and I going to visit with David Raim right now.
All right, David. Obviously, to get a little background for the audience, how you got involved in racing a little over 20 years ago, and what was that for initial? I think your first winner was a session with Grand Motion. And what was that moment like for you?
First, I think my first winner was a horse named Murray's Mazel, who I co-owned with Larry Johnson, the wonderful guy just recently deceased. And I think he won down at Gulfstream with a big name jockey on him. But be that as it may, I used to go to the racetrack with my dad at Aqueduct in Belmont, and he put $2 down on each race, and I sort of caught the bug and continued going to the track with friends for years, and then and my dad's name was Murray, hence the name of the first horse being Murray's Mazel. But I got to know Larry Johnson from working on a case with him, where he was an expert witness and I was the lawyer, and we worked together. And he talked to me about his racing business, and went out to his house and his farm in Middleburg, and told him how much I'd really love to get involved in racing, but didn't know anything about it. I don't think he particularly needed my money, but he was nice. And when he had a Muad'dib foal, he agreed to let me go 50-50 with him. And that horse became Murray's Mazel. And the horse was trained by Grand Motion. And then I got one or two others. I got to know Graham, who's also just a wonderful, wonderful man. But my horses really were not particularly suited for traveling around the country and racing with Graham. And so he suggested maybe I would like to put my horses with a friend of his, Jeff Runco, where in Charlestown, where the competition might be a little easier, and my expense structure might not be as high. And Jeff and I really hit it off both personally and professionally, and that's how I got involved.
Yeah, what's that whole entire ride been like? From those humble beginnings, David, all the way through a bevy of stakes winners, of course, Muad'dib being the primary one, and even some more recent ones the last couple of years. But what's it been like interacting with Jeff? Not here, but I'm sure there's been a friendship that's developed as well.
I didn't catch all of that, but I'll try to answer the question if I miss anything. Well, I mean, working with Jeff has proved to be wonderful. I since I started with Jeff, I never uh, even thought of giving another trainer any of my horses, and he has all of them, and he will always have all of them. And that's both from a personal standpoint that I just enjoy working with him and with Susan. From a professional standpoint, he's works really hard at his business and is successful, and also from an ethical standpoint, he really cares about my horses and won't do anything to endanger them, and works hard to find good homes for them afterwards. But, when you ask what it's been like, I really never expected this. I thought it might be fun to have a horse or have a part interest in a horse. And, once I started doing it, I realized just how much I enjoyed it, that I could afford to do it, and that, and then success breeds on success. Once you have some success and realize how much fun it is, and you're doing okay financially, you just keep going. So it's been, a very fast and energizing and surprising ride. It's not what I thought I would be doing. Where it's really, I mean, not only is it a great ride, but I have so many horses that it's a business where you have to take care of it and treat it like a business.
Sure, sure. Talk about the ultimate ride had to be with Muad'dib, obviously. David, I know recently retired, but two-time West Virginia Breeders' Classic winner, two-time West Virginia Bred Horse of the Year. I believe won his first 12 starts, finished second in the Charlestown Classic. A Grade 2 $1 million race. What was that? What was that ride like? Because people are always going to associate you and Jeff and Muad'dib. I mean, you've got dozens of other really good horses, but let's face it, people are going to think they're going to associate you with Muad'dib, and that had to be just quite a thrill all those years, David.
Who knows? Jeff and I are still kicking a little bit. Maybe maybe we'll eclipse him in the future. Actually, this past year, my 2-year-olds, none of them are West Virginia bred, so we're taking a little bigger swing. But yeah, I mean, obviously, completely unexpected. Um, the the second in the Grade 2 was just unbelievable to be out there with trainers and owners, from all over the country with the top horses, and having him hold on for second. It was great. And the horse, it's just been a wonderful ride. Obviously, my best horse yet, and a great personality. I mean, Jeff loves the horse. from just being around him. But he's just, there was a period of time in there where he just didn't lose, and where he was winning all of his races by just really big margins, and so it was just a great ride. It was anything I think that any owner could ask for. It was the ultimate.
David, let me
Right.
ask. You mentioned a minute ago how Jeff, excuse me, takes steps to make sure the horses have soft landings at the end of their careers and whatnot. What's next for Muad'dib now that he's retired?
Well, Jeff and Susan both feel that his personality is such that he needs to be active. Unlike Penguin Power, who we retired to a very fine uh, retirement facility, for lack of any better word, a farm for retired racehorses in Virginia. I think it's a Virginia thoroughbred facility. Jeff and Susan feel that Muad'dib would not be happy just grazing around in a field all day, and that we really need to find a more active second career for him, that he will be happier doing that. What that will be, whether it's equestrian or whatnot, who knows? He's just coming home from the track. I think he came home this week, or will be coming home tomorrow or Thursday, and he'll get some time off, and then I think Jeff and Susan will go about thinking about what's the next step for him. And he was such a great racehorse. He really deserves some time and some thought going into deciding where he should go next.
David, he's speaking of Muad'dib, he's since sort of passed the torch on to his younger full brother, Duncan Idaho, two dramatically different styles of horses. Obviously, Muad'dib was giant in the 2-turn, 3-turn races up there, and of course, Duncan Idaho developing into one of the best 1-turn sprint specialists we've seen in a while, probably since Dr. Feelgood. What's it like watching him compete? And won a gritty allowance victory against Honeyquest last week, and didn't know if you noticed, but that was your 250th win as a sole racehorse owner, David.
I did not know that. Wow. That's fabulous. Thanks for telling me. That is, when I first started out hoping for one or two, that's not, but I mean, he's great. And, as long as he breaks well, so far he's won. That's the key for him. If he breaks, which he did against Honeyquest, and Honeyquest is a really good horse, and ran a great race. Duncan Idaho is a sprint specialist, not necessarily by choice. He has a breathing issue. It's not something that can be helped by Lasix or anything. It's not a bleeding issue. He just does not have the same lung capacity to be able to race long. He might have been able to race long. His legs might have gone long, but his lungs won't. So he's become he's obviously just a very talented racehorse, and he's become a sprint champion by just because that's really what's available to him.
Jeff mentioned to me he might look for a race down the road at Colonial, possibly on the turf. Has he approached you about that as well, David?
Yes, we
Okay.
have talked about it. It's always fun to take your horse on the road and see how the horse might do. And I have not won too many races away from Charlestown. Um, Actually, only one that I can think of. Um, and But the other thing is, there are not that many races for him at Charlestown. They don't necessarily go that often on either a West Virginia or an open 4.5 with no conditions. So, yeah, Jeff and I have been talking about looking for something because he really can't. Jeff doesn't really think uh, would do too well racing anything over 5.5. So he definitely has talked to me about maybe trying the turf at Colonial, where they have a little bit shorter races on the turf than they do on the dirt.
Okay. And up to this point, David, most of the horses you've raced, you've bought privately. But I think you had your first winner as a breeder one night when I was at Charlestown. And is that a direction you went ahead at some point down the road, or was that kind of a fluke at this point, David? You tell us.
A fluke.
Okay.
That was a fluke. And I do have another yearling coming up who'll be a 2-year-old next year, which was a horse called Outfield Angel that I had with my a mare that did pretty well for me, Stow Angel. Um, but And it's an Army mule horse, but um, I cannot, or shouldn't say cannot. Um, Breeding is just something that Jeff and I have agreed is um, just too risky and expensive for me. I don't own a farm, and so I'm having to. It's just very expensive. Um, so actually, the arrangement I had with Stow Angel was where, with John Link, who's another one of Jeff's clients who did a wonderful job breeding the horse, was I took the horse, I bred the horse, and paid for the breeding, and John took care of uh, the mare and the foal during that process, and so I didn't have those expenses. And at the end of the process, I gave the mare to John. That was our arrangement. So no, uh, the the breeding has been a fluke, and uh, will probably not continue.
Okay.
How
Well, you
did
could
it?
say,
Can I jump
sorry.
in for a sec, Ted?
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you, when it's a homebred that wins? How were you? What was the feeling like for you to get a homebred home?
Oh well, that's you know particularly uh, gratifying that somehow that first of all, they're breeding from mares that I had on the track. So horses that
Right.
I've seen from buying them as uh, yearlings or weanlings, and then watching them come through and picking out the mating along with uh, particularly Susan, who's really works on the breedings and the matings, and is very knowledgeable about that stuff. And yeah, it was great. And I'm hoping that I'll have success with the yearling that I've bred. The other thing with with breeding, though, is I'm not getting any younger, and it's a
None of us
long.
is.
None of us are.
Neither is Jeff, and it's just a longer process.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe I was there that night, David. Your homebred won. It was the last race on the card. It was a maiden claimer, and I guess looking back on it, probably best case scenario because the horse got claimed from you that night. So you got
Yes.
the double dip in a sense, right?
Yes. I mean, look. Again, I can't fall in love with my horses. I can't decide that I really love this horse because I bred her, and so I'm not going to put her in the claimer. And that's just not the way to run a business. And I hope that whoever bought her has wonderful success.
Right, right. And you touched upon some of the 2-year-olds that turned 3 recently. David, is Jeff getting any indication how the upcoming crop of 2-year-olds are going to look for you when they start racing in July? And is there anything he's going to point early or kind of wait for the fall, summer and fall?
This is a little bit of a different crop of 2-year-olds than I've had before, because sort of my business plan in the past was to stick with West Virginia breds, because the program has lets you go through your West Virginia conditions and then your other conditions. It's an excellent program. You also, the West Virginia field of horses, while they're very good, it's a much smaller group to compete against. So it just seemed like I might have more success in that arena. We decided, when I went to buy yearlings last year, that I just really couldn't find any West Virginia breds that I thought I was happy with. It's the breeders in West Virginia, for a while when I first started, I was one of the few targeting Kentucky breds. Fiberson was an exception. Um, but and now, all the West Virginia bred, breeders or a lot of them are also breeding to excellent Kentucky stallions. Um, the competition is tougher, and they're not really as many for sale as there used to be. So we decided last year that I was going to buy 2-year-olds, buy yearlings that were non-West Virginia breds, some Kentucky, Virginia, Maryland, and see how I would do elsewhere. They may run their maiden at Charlestown, but then if they're good, we'll hopefully move them to places where the purses are a little larger. I mean, Jeff said all 5 of them look great now, but the horses always look great before they've run a race.
All unraced 2-year-olds look great. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I bought 2 Omaha Beach, or progeny, and a City of Light. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I
So
imagine.
how would you, I'm sorry, Ted, how would you handle that? Like, let's say one of these looks really good, runs big first time out, wins, and you say, this horse needs to go to New York, Maryland, Kentucky, wherever. Are you going to try and race them? Will you find other trainers, or will Jeff keep them and ship them?
No, I really don't care what it is and what shipping costs I have to have. The horses stay with Jeff.
Okay.
There's, no, absolutely no question. Jeff and I just have a really good relationship, and we're in this together. And Jeff helps me buy my horses. I don't know enough to buy a racehorse. I know at this point, I know what sires I like. I know when I look at the hip page and in the catalog, I know what I like and I don't like in terms of a catalog page. But you could show me Secretariat and a mule, and I'd be lucky to tell you which one to buy. And Jeff really works hard, and Susan, they both spend a lot of time working with me on my purchases. And then, so no, Jeff and I are in this together. And if one of the horses is really good and he's going to run outside of um, the Delmarva, then uh, Jeff will still be the trainer.
Okay.
No, I'm good, Frank.
What I want to ask you about one other horse, David, because really, I think he's your second highest earner. You said Penguin Power. Now just kind of hanging out, being a horse at an old folks home, an old horse home. But what a cool horse he was, winning 5 Breeders' Classics, winning a Breeders' Classics race in 5 years in a row.
Yeah, he was a great horse. He was just a great horse, and it's too bad. I don't know what happened particularly to that mare, but I think he was about the last um, horse out of that mare. Again, it was the same Indian Charlie cross, taking Fibersome and Indian Charlie mares, but uh, um, that was another really good mare. And Penguin Power was great. I mean, he won at going long, and then in his later career, as he couldn't go long at all, he went short, and so that was great. He was a horse that we tried to take on the road, but he was so badly behaved when 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 we took him on the road and just took him to Laurel. I mean, he just could not calm down. I mean, he was high strung anyway, but even at Charlestown, which he knew well. But when we took him to Laurel, he he just wouldn't calm down, and I think Jeff promised him that at Laurel he wouldn't take him anymore. I don't remember exactly, but he was just really not well behaved down there. So we really were not able to see when he was in his prime how he would have done. Whether he, like Muad'dib, could have done something in an open stakes race, but he was a great horse.
Yeah.
He was, and I'm really, I really owe, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. I really owe a debt to the John and Cindy McKee for breeding these horses. And for selling them to me. Not every one of them has been great, but these have been wonderful, and they did a great job, and took a chance on a sire that was unraced, and so they've been, at least I've had very successful horses that were not by Fiber Song, but certainly my leading money winners have been by Fibersond.
it really raises the question, did John cut you a better deal than he cut Cindy when he made her pay 40,000 for half a horse?
No, actually, it was a pretty similar deal. I think it was about the same. I read that. Um, I think most of those horses, if not all of them, I think 80,000 was pretty much the the going price for all of them. And so when we bought the first one, which I think was a horse called Rambam Rocker, who was undefeated and then had a health issue and we had to retire him. But I think, all of them were 80. And when I first bought the first one, I was thinking, well, that's a lot of money for, a West Virginia sired horse, a yearling. But, the it looked like it was, it had promise, and it did.
Yeah, turned out to be a bargain eventually.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Ted, that got you covered?
Yeah, David, I was going to ask, one last thing. You talked about getting older, but, having these horses to watch week in and week out and knowing you've got unraced horses coming up down the road, that's just got to keep you younger, right? I mean, it keeps you and Jeff and all those old guys going, yeah. Right?
It sure does. I'm going out on Thursday night. The only thing is that the ride from where I live in Chevy Chase in Maryland to Charlestown seems to get longer every year, particularly when you're in the eighth race and the race is ending at around 10:30 and you got to drive home. If I win, it's fine, but if I lose, it's a long ride, and my wife starts worrying about me. But no, I'm actually it does keep me younger. It absolutely does. I spend a lot of time on this on my own, particularly with I go through every sale that's out there, whether I'm buying horses or not, and plague Jeff and Susan with my lists. Getting ready to make my list for the July Fasig Tipton sale. And yeah, I mean, I bought yearlings. I'm going to buy yearlings this year, and I plan on watching them, and Jeff plans on training them. So yeah, it does keep me younger.
And one last thing, David, you talked about your personal and professional relationship with Jeff. Did you ever imagine when you started with him that here he is probably 6, 7, maybe 8 months away from attaining his 5,000th career victory as a trainer when, he started at the track as a jockey and then transitioned over. But, could you ever imagine that, you would be part of what he's going to be able to accomplish here?
Well, I was certainly more confident that he would reach 5,000 than I would ever reach 250. Let's say that. I mean, I thought he was great from the start, but then again, when I started with him, I probably only had 8 races under my belt, so I didn't have much to compare. I had Graham, who was wonderful, and for one race, Mike Trombetta, and then Mike said, well, David, he's also a friend of Jeff's, and he said, this horse really should go to Jeff. But no, obviously, I did not expect this for Jeff, but I think he had won with Researcher before I got there or whatever. Not that I knew what the West Virginia Breeders' Classics were when I started with him. But he's done fabulously. And he just works really hard. And he's taking on fewer horses now, but he does not work any less hard. And I think it's not a fluke that he's won the races he has.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time today, David.
Thanks, gentlemen. Pleasure as always.
Thank you, David. Much appreciated.
Thanks, David.
Sure.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Coming up next, Frank talks with Charlestown track announcer Paul Espinosa. Hey, Paul, good to see you. We had the last stake for about a month last week, Confucius Say. Some other news we got to handle, but let's start with the Confucius Say. Ray of Sunshine just kept finding on the front end.
He really did, and it was something that you identified obviously very early on when we were talking about the race last week. Just the lack of speed in that race. Got a little bit of an assist from a horse to his outside, no cash refunds, who ended up kind of applying some pressure, but it wasn't very stiff pressure in that opening, eighth of a mile or so. And as a result, some of the horses to the outside, they were also a little bit inconvenienced. Obviously, Pascaline took some of the worst of it. We knew that Juba with the twist was going to have to overcome a wide trip as well. Kind of a weird trip for Spot a Free One. Just nothing really about the trip per se. He kind of ran in spots, which is fitting for a horse that's named that has Spot in the name. But one thing's for sure, Ray of Sunshine, he got to the front and improved his position, and it was a thrilling finish and one that, again, for my angle in the booth, the outside normally always has the advantage. And so I wasn't quite sure that he was able to hold off Catch the Humor, but lo and behold, he ended up holding him off by, I think it was a short head. So
yeah, it won by a lot. Catch the Humor drawing in. Cindy McKee had to scratch. I'm the director. He's having foot issues, and that let her other runner Catch the Humor, and he almost won. The funny thing is, I talking to Cindy before the race, she was saying, well, I've got to scratch my better horse. And I'm looking at the past performance. I'm like, I'm not sure I read it quite that way, but Catch the Humor ran a big race. The other thing you said last week, though, which proves to be accurate, is, this division, right, without Coastal Mission, without Teach of the Release, this division is a jumble right now. The top 7 horses were within 3 lengths of each other.
Absolutely. And again, it's one of those things where too, you wonder if there ends up being a horse that has more speed that ends up, entering into the mix at some point, and how that could be a fly in the ointment for Ray of Sunshine. Also, when you think about this division, you think down the road with the Sam Huff West Virginia Breeders' Classic, if Teaching the Release, I haven't heard anything about kind of what his status is, but I definitely don't get the sense that Ray of Sunshine wants much more than 7. I think that 7 furlongs is kind of his cap. And again, admittedly, I said last week I was kind of even skeptical that he was going to be able to hold off this field going 7, and lo and behold, he did. So,
yeah.
Nothing would really surprise me in that regard. But I do think that, Catch the Humor, to your point, that was one thing I clearly missed on Ray of Sunshine, that part of it. But, we were able to correctly handicap that Catch the Humor and Juba with the Twist were most likely going to draw in because of their stablemates. Ends up being a little bit of a different reason for that being the case with I'm the Director. But that horse has always had a ton of talent. He really flashed a lot, breaking his maiden, came back quickly and ended up winning on Breeders' Classics night. And he has a tendency to lug in. I know that he's one of the more pronounced horses to lug in that I've seen here at Charlestown, to the point where it's like, it almost looks like the rider at times isn't even able to ride the horse because they're just so preoccupied with trying to keep him off the inside. But when he has his mind on running, he clearly is able to come with a run that not a lot of West Virginia breds have. And so, again, I thought that he came out of this looking really good. And then, Pascaline, we knew that this probably wasn't going to be his race off the bench. Still, had that early trouble as well. Spot a Free One probably again would be the disappointment if I had to pick one. He and Juba with a Twist. I felt like both of them, we knew they'd be up against it a little bit pace wise, but the fact that Catch the Humor was able to be right there at the finish, you would have expected them to be able to kind of produce a similar type of kick. And so, it is an absolute scramble, both when you look at the Sam Huff mile and an eighth race, and then the Onion Juice going 7 as well. Should be a very interesting older West Virginia bred division scene this year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun to see how this shakes out. I mean, it could be one of those years. You just referenced this. It's not hard at all to come up with a scenario where somebody else wins that race other than Ray of Sunshine, and it could be one of those years where they just sort of take turns beating up on each other, and then we'll see what happens at the end. One of the runners out of that race who did not really fire and maybe past much firing has been retired, and that is the West Virginia bred millionaire Muad'dib. David Raim confirming that to us earlier on Charlestown Races Today. He retires with 18 wins and over $1 million banked, and that ain't easy at Charlestown to get yourself to $1 million.
He will go down as one of my absolute favorite horses that I've had the privilege of calling, and I do consider it a privilege to call horses like that. And one of the few times I feel like in racing where, we breed the best of the best, hope for the best. Obviously everybody's heard that by now. But we know that so often our hearts get broken, or there is a sense of letdown where, this horse is a sibling to so-and-so. This horse is going to be great.
Could be good, yeah.
This is one of the cases where he delivered and more. We knew that being a full brother to Late Night Powwow, that there was some excitement, certainly some expectations. And I just think that, again, he was just a very special horse, obviously starting his career a perfect 10 for 10. And then first defeat coming to Art Collector, and it was a second place finish, beaten 5 lengths. He then went on to win the Sam Huff West Virginia Breeders' Classic right after that, and just time after time, such a cool horse. A little thing that I'm not sure how many people really get a chance to pick up on, but after his races, when he would leave the winner's circle, which so often he did, it would be like his groom was having to fly a kite. He would just prance. And it's like he knew he was a smart horse being around him in the barn. I was fortunate enough to kind of get close to him, doing some preview videos and whatnot down at the Jeff Runco barn. Just a big sweetheart, a big teddy bear. He really seemed to be a ham for the camera. And those are the type of horses that, when you just put it all together, the expectations that you had for him, the meeting of those expectations, them not being, these fierce kind of, tough horses to be around, just being almost like a big dog. He's just a really special horse, and I'm very happy that again he's going to get to live out his best life, and whatever that might be. He seems like a horse that, I think, in talking to Jeff previously, he kind of suggested that he's not going to be a horse that's going to be okay being like a lawn ornament. Like he's probably going to want to have another a second job, and so we'll see whatever that ends up being. Looking forward to seeing what that chapter is. But hats off to Muad'dib. Happy trails to him. Certainly one of the best that I've had the privilege of calling here.
Yeah, no, a great career, as you referenced, second in the Charlestown Classic, the Grade 2 Charlestown Classic. Won a couple. Did he win 2 West Virginia Breeders' Classics, I think?
I do believe so.
And it's just really a terrific career. And it's neat that, he didn't run well on the stake on Saturday, but he's 2 races removed from his most recent win. He won, I think, to start his season here. So was still running at a competitive level is he 9 now? 8,
I think he's
9?
9.
Yeah, I mean, so he was still running at a competitive level, not really a stakes animal anymore, and that's what prompted them to call it quits on him, but won an allowance a couple starts ago. So nice to see him getting the retirement he deserves.
Absolutely. He's, I said, he was not disgraced by any means. He was another one that obviously figured to be up against it from a pace scenario. And, again, he just always he was a horse that clearly after a few starts, he was very easy to recognize. He was also a very big strapping horse. And so, a lot of times it seemed like his stride, one of his strides was two of his competitors. And so he was, from a race calling standpoint, he was a very easy horse to spot. And so that's always nice to not have to think about who that horse is. And just a really, really cool horse that again, I appreciate Jeff and David for, doing right by him. Not that ever was going to be a question, but he's certainly more than earned his retirement.
Yeah, for sure. What a family. You mentioned this. What a family that is. I mean, Muad'dib, Late Night Powwow, Duncan Idaho. Am I missing one? What's that?
Overnight Powwow.
Overnight Powwow. Yeah. Who just won the race 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've mentioned this before too, that again, just think about those horses that you named. And I'd say that Overnight Powwow and Late Night Powwow, they're pretty similar. I do still think Late Night Powwow, obviously she's kind of the a different tier, but similar preferences, if you will, where that 2-turn configuration, whereas Muad'dib, he wanted to go 7 to a mile and an eighth pretty much as long as we'd write races here. And then you have Duncan Idaho, who is one of the fastest West Virginia breds we literally have ever seen. They were, again, just about a half second from breaking the track record the other night in an allowance race. And so just how they can all be so good, but all be kind of different in a sense as well. An unbelievable family, the first family of West Virginia racing, I would say.
Really is. It's amazing. What a mare. What a mare. All right. That's I think that's the news from last week. Anything else you want to throw in the hopper?
I think that's about it. I mentioned obviously Duncan Idaho. He had a showdown with Honeyquist, and if anybody's bored, want to go back and watch a replay of that race. That was again, they went 21, 44, 50.5 something, I believe, and the track record is immortalized 50.09, and so that was one of the better races that I've seen. It seemed like we've always kind of wondered, I feel like, what was in the tank for Duncan Idaho, and we found that out because Honeyquist made him run. I think that the rail was probably a little good throughout the course of last week, and so he had the benefit of that. And he's another big strapping horse that, again, he just kind of dwarfed Honeyquist. But Honeyquist ran a big race, but just not quite big enough to go with the big Duncan Idaho. So, but yeah, that pretty much wraps up.
Duncan Idaho. Every time I watch him, I'm like, there's a part of my brain saying he's too big to do 4.5 furlongs. He wants to stretch, but Raim was saying that he just doesn't have the kind of wind, the kind of lung capacity. He's really distance limited, which 4.5 is ideal. It sounds like they might try him on the turf at Colonial, see if he could go 5.5. So we'll see how that works out. But pretty sure we'll be seeing him back for the Dash for Cash in October, if not before then. So something else to look forward to. What do you got to look forward to this week? We got some interesting horses that are going to be running and some fun races to look at.
We do indeed. We kick things off Thursday night with At a Premium. We've touched on her before for David Walters and Jill Daniel, and kind of the next potential star that they have in their stable. She started off her career perfect 2 for 2. This would seem like it's going to be a little bit just kind of a paid workout on paper. I feel like she might get a little bit more of a test on the front end with some of these fillies and mares, but it's scratched down to a 5-horse field. So I don't really know what all we have the potential to learn from this race, but again, just excited to see her back on the racetrack, and hopefully she can continue to progress. And she's a filly that, to me, I would kind of dream. I'm dreaming big for the connections that I feel like she could be potentially Charlestown Oaks level good. I think that obviously you would want to pass this test and then focus on the Sylvia Bishop. And then if the Sylvia Bishop goes well, then maybe you do at least see where you're at. And I'd imagine they'll certainly be in the nominations for a race like the Charlestown Oaks. But I think that she is that level of special. And just looking forward to seeing her back on the racetrack on Thursday night. Then on Friday night, we have a 3-year-old boy to be excited about, another West Virginia bred Penguin Pride for the aforementioned David Raim. And he had an incredibly impressive debut. His first time out, going 4.5 at Charlestown. He won by 11 lengths. in a pretty snappy time. And so again, Penguin's Pride, he's obviously had Penguin power before. Now it's Penguin's Pride, and he's a son of Vacoma that looks like he could be really good. So the Jeff Runco barn, they're pretty loaded with the 3-year-old boys between Ryan's Run and this guy.
Yeah.
It looks like has a couple of really impressive runners that he might have to consider what to do with them as the season progresses. But that means that we have a couple of really nice 3-year-olds to kind of look forward to. And it's kind of fitting that with the retirement of Muad'dib, I talked to Jeff Runco that the Coastal Mission, he's been retired. And so while we kind of say farewell for now to a couple of established West Virginia bred stars, it's always exciting to have the next round of stars, hopefully, rolling in here. And so look forward to following them as they progress, and looking forward to seeing them out on the racetrack here the next couple of nights.
Yeah, at a premium, you mentioned she's not just 2 for 2. She's 2 for 2 by a combined like 20 something lanes. I mean, she's just obliterated those fields. So at some point, yeah, you want to see her get a test, have somebody look her in the eye and see what she does then. But so far she's been too good. Nobody's been able to see any part of her but her butt. And we'll see how that goes. And Penguin's Pride. So those are pretty fun. And then Saturday got a couple interesting races, including some really fast fillies.
Yeah, it's kind of an off the beaten path kind of race, but the fourth race on Saturday night has, in my opinion, the two best the two best 4.5 furlong fillies and mares on the ground in Julie's Legacy and Delightful Dixie. Julie's Legacy for the Michael Jones Jr. barn, and Delightful Dixie for Joan Reynolds, who we touched on the type of year that she's been having, winning at a really high clip. And these two are both razor sharp, super fast, and it's a 6-horse field. So again, it's not exactly a race that I think is sets up to be a great betting race, but from a fan standpoint, I think that it's going to be really fascinating to see how they shake out and just kind of see who comes out on top. Julie's Legacy hasn't lost here. She's 3 for 3 since coming here to Charlestown, and she just looks really good every time she has raced out here. Same thing with Delightful Dixie. She's been on top of her game. So looking forward to seeing that for a starter allowance race. That's one that really is shaping up to be a really solid event. Then even later on in the card, I think that we have a nice allowance event to look forward to with obviously among others the Cavada winner, Petty Perfect, the Sky's Falling, Zip Start, a bunch of fillies that are kind of trying to get back up on the beam. We know what has been inside and know what they are capable of. They just haven't really been producing it out on the racetrack. And so looking forward to seeing how that one shakes out. Another nice allowance race with Coach Siggy, Mitote, a couple of others in there, Mayor of Greene County, Rock of Ages for Stephen Murdoch. So it's a race a week rather, where even though there's no stakes action, some really good West Virginia breds going to be hitting the track. And so that's certainly going to be something I'm looking forward to throughout the course of the week.
Yeah, the 4.5 furlong race with Julie's Legacy and Delightful Dixie also shapes up pretty interesting. You know, the handicapping test there, I'm guessing it's going to come down to one or the other, and they're both going to be short. But the interesting sort of puzzle, one's leaving from the inside, one's leaving from the outside. So they're bookending the field. So it'll be kind of, I think a lot of people feel like being outside is an advantage. I don't think the statistics bear that out. I'm curious, where do you land on that?
So I think if I have a speed horse that is a good gate horse, then I definitely want the inside. I think that in specific cases, sort of like the aforementioned Duncan Idaho, who can kind of break a beat slow, and he is a big horse, and so it takes him a little bit of time to kind of get everything moving in the right direction. I could see where being outside actually is beneficial there. But in this specific scenario, I think that inside is where I'd want to be. I think that Julie's Legacy is going to have the real estate that Delightful Dixie would want. And so yeah, again, that's all you can only assume that she hasn't given us any reason, neither of them really, to assume that they're going to break slowly. And so if you're assuming fair breaks, I want to be on the inside. I want to cover less ground. I want to have that coveted rail spot as you get ready to enter the far turn. So yeah, I think it's kind of a case by case basis. luckily for Delightful Dixie, it's a couple of the horses who are inside do not have any speed at all. So she should have a pretty unimpeded, quick path
get clear
down to the 2 path. But again, I don't see her seeing the rail because I can't see anybody right now crossing and clearing in front of Julie's Legacy.
Yeah. I it's funny too, because I've often felt like the worst place is in the middle. Like if there's speed outside and it's sort of converging and you're in the middle, you can get yourself in a jackpot pretty quickly if you're not careful there. So all right, well, so good stuff. Definitely looking forward to that. A premium Thursday night, Penguins Pride Friday, and then these interesting allowances and starter events on Saturday. Paul, this is going to be our last one of these for a couple of weeks here. We're going to be coming back at it next month as we get closer to stakes action, but then it's going to be fast and furious for a while as we head towards Charlestown Classic night at the end of August.
Yeah, we just had our 75-day, I guess, graphic go up on the Race Charlestown, the social channels, and so that'll be here before you know it. And you're kind of getting to that point now where the horses that will be running that night are getting ready to have their final race, at least from a national standpoint, before our races. And so it's definitely a fun time of year. We don't have any horses that we would say have reached out to us and have said that they're definitely coming, but there are the names that we've chatted about between you would think Skippy Longstocking, he's going to be back. I would think that Banishing, assuming everything's good with him after his Churchill debacle, he'd be back. Barbadian Runner for Henry Walters, again, I haven't seen it confirmed that he's pointing to our race, but I would think
a ton of sense.
Exactly. I would expect him to be in that spot. And so, it's a lot of fun to kind of see horses that, would make sense that from, trainers and owners that have run here before. You kind of you can piece together the puzzle. And so that's what it is at this point, essentially. Is you're dreaming on a lot of horses. And obviously we're just hoping for a great card that night. And again, it'll be here before we know it. And very much looking forward to chatting with you about it along the way.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun. With Barbadian Runner, he's going to run on the 27th at Laurel, the disputed testimony, which, unless there's entrance we don't expect, he's going to be a strong favorite. So hopefully he runs well and comes out well and can be headed back to CT, where he won the richest race he's won so far when he won the Robert Hilton. So.
Just a beautiful ride that night too from Forrest Boyce. Again, you had the best jockeys in the country there. Irad was on the front end, Faster Gator and Boca Chica on the front end, and she just kind of weaved her way through the pack beautifully, and then came and got him on the outside. One of the better difference-making rides that I've seen that sticks out in my mind here at Charlestown. She rode him perfectly that night, and so again, a fun horse to root for, and it could be a big year for the Walters family, as we've talked about, between David with that premium and obviously Henry there with Barbadian Run.
And wouldn't that be cool? Those are two guys who have toiled for a long time, mostly away from the spotlight. I think David has been relatively higher profile at Charlestown than Henry has been at Laurel, but it'd be cool for both of them to have a big horse at the same time. So no doubt. We'll look forward to that. All right, Paul Espinosa, track announcer. Thank you so much. Appreciate it as always. And we'll look forward to chatting with you soon.
Sounds good, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thanks to Paul Espinosa. Thanks to David Raim. Thanks to Ted Black. And most of all, thanks to you. Thanks to you for watching. If you're on YouTube, listening, if you're anywhere else, to Midlantic Racing Today, Charlestown Races Today, powered by the Racing Biz, theracingbiz.com, and presented by our friends at Charlestown Races. My name's Frank Vespi. This has been Midlantic Racing Today and Charlestown Races Today. Please do like and subscribe. Do that anywhere you get your podcast. We appreciate it very much. We'll be back next week with more Midlantic Racing Today from Maryland, from Delaware. Charlestown, we're going to take a week off, or actually more than a week, take a couple weeks off, but we've got lots more Midlantic Racing Today coming up next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.